Okay, so this is part 2 of Unit 4. We're going to talk about elasticity for a minute. Elasticity is a measurement of how consumers will react to a change in price. And so if a consumer is elastic, and when we run this formula here, and you get a answer that's less than 1, that means that consumers have the ability to react to a change in price by utilizing that substitution effect. Meaning, if the price of something they buy goes way up, the law of demand kicks in, says they're going to buy less of that good. But it also means that they could still find something to substitute for it and still have their needs or wants met, usually pretty effectively. If the calculation's greater than or less than 1 there, then we say they're inelastic, and they can't really react well to a change in price, and they'll still buy the product even with an increase in price for the most part. For instance, gasoline. Since it's usually the only thing that runs our car, it would be too expensive right away to just purchase another car that runs on, let's say, electricity. You're going to be stuck purchasing that good even with an increase in price because you still have to get to work or drive to the store and those sorts of things. Now, you may find ways to decrease how often you fill up in gas, but you'll usually buy about the same amount of gas or just slightly less, but we call that inelastic. Now, if the calculation is 1, we call it unitary elastic, and you can see down here the formula for that. Now, factors that affect whether or not you will react to a change in price. 1, like we said, if there are substitutes. How much importance you place on a product. You may still buy a product that's going up in price because to you don't like the substitutes. You say that the one that went up in price is so important that you'll keep buying it and make yourself inelastic. If you see something as a necessity versus a luxury, you'll still buy the necessity, the need, not the want. And, it changes over time. Like I mentioned with cars, you might eventually save up for an electric car because you don't like the fluctuation of gas prices based on oil prices in the market. But that takes time to become elastic in that way. So elasticity can affect a company's revenue because if we're not purchasing as much, they could lose money, and vice versa if we're purchasing more. Now, if a consumer starts buying less of a product because they're elastic and they can substitute for another good, the first products company could suffer where the substitute goods company would profit. And so here's a chart that will kind of show you some of that. This is a chart. You can kind of see how it affects revenue. When we looked at the price of pizza in our schedule before, you can see here, at $1 a slice, 300 slices were being demanded, which brought in $300 to the business. But when they raised prices to $4, they found that while they lost quantity being demanded, they lost business, they actually doubled their revenue. So this might be, a reason why that producers will look at a demand schedule because they could kind of see, hey, could we get away with losing some business, 150 slices of pizza being demanded, but still make more money? And that may be a reason that you'll see prices also increase because they've figured out what the public is buying in that particular market and how it could benefit them. Okay, so here's a chart that kind of shows that, a little easier to understand with the arrows.